Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual press conference. Before we get started, I'd like to go through a few housekeeping items so you know how to participate in today's event. First off, all lines are on mute. If you experience any technical difficulties at any point during our presentation, please explain your problem through the chat feature, and I will try our best to address the issue. We will hold a Q&A session at the end, and in order to ask a question, please go to your control plane and click the raise hand button. We will call your name and unmute your audio to speak. All materials from today's press conference will be available on our website after the press conference at newjerseyoag.gov. We would like to note that there are a large amount of attendees here, so please keep all comments and questions on topic. We are also recording this press conference, and the video will be available on our YouTube page within 24 hours. Please subscribe to New Jersey OAG on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Flickr for the latest updates on news, information, and resources from our office. And now I'd like to hand things off to our first speaker today, Attorney General Grewal.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're announcing the arrests of 31 alleged sex offenders as a result of Operation 24/7. All 31 defendants are accused of conduct involving the sexual exploitation of children. The defendants include 20-year-old Ryan Olson of Williamstown, New Jersey. We allege that Olson solicited underage girls on social media to play what he called a game, offering prizes and money in exchange for sexually explicit photos and videos of his victims. He awarded more points for more sexually explicit images. He allegedly obtained multiple sexual photos and videos of children through this so-called game. And he allegedly sent one of his victims a sexually explicit photo of himself. The defendants also include 25-year-old Nadachi Ndungo of Jersey City. He is charged with attempted theft by extortion. He allegedly tried to extort a 12-year-old girl that he met on the gaming app Discord, and he sought to coerce her into sending him sexually explicit photos of herself. The investigation revealed that he allegedly engaged in this conduct, targeting dozens of girls aged 7 to 15 whom he met using Discord. In addition, those arrested include Robert Reinhardt, age 52. This Pennsylvania resident allegedly sought to have sex with a 14-year-old girl. Believing that he was texting the girl's adult sister, he allegedly offered to pay $300 for sex with the young girl. In reality, there was no sister. Reinhardt instead was texting undercover detectives posing as the adult sister. He was arrested when he traveled to New Jersey to meet the 14-year-old. Those arrested also include Samuel Santiago, age 54 of Carteret. We charge that he molested a 14-year-old girl, touching her under her clothing. He is also alleged to have numerous videos of child sexual abuse material on his cell phone when he was arrested. In addition to those defendants, we arrested 27 other men who possessed and/or distributed videos and images of child sexual abuse, including, in many cases, videos of young children being raped by adults. I want to be absolutely clear. Possessing and distributing these materials are heinous crimes, crimes which directly drive the victimization of innocent children who are cruelly assaulted to produce them. And they are crimes which re-victimize those children each and every time those images and those videos of their suffering and exploitation are shared online. This operation was led by the Division of Criminal Justice, the New Jersey State Police, and the New Jersey Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Our task force partners included U.S. Homeland Security Investigations and 7 county prosecutor offices. It's a collaborative effort, and you may recall that we arrested 21 defendants last year in a similar operation called Operation Screen Capture. That operation was a direct response to an alarming increase in tips concerning online threats to children. The increase was clearly linked to the COVID emergency and the fact that people were spending more and more time online. Homebound children were using their devices not only for virtual learning, but also for recreation. And predators saw more opportunities to target vulnerable children online at this time. Unfortunately, that dangerous dynamic continues. The pandemic is not quite over, and tips about online threats against children remain high. The state police received 39% more tips in just the first 6 months of 2021 than they received for the entire year in 2019. And they're on pace to exceed the total of 6,130 for all of 2020, which included the first 10 months of the COVID pandemic. Operation 24/7 represents our continued commitment to protect children in the face of this ongoing threat. As starkly illustrated by two of the cases I just discussed, Olson and Ndungo, chat apps and gaming platforms remain favorite hunting grounds for child predators, predators who seek to groom children for exploitation. With this latest operation, we continue to send a strong message to those that may seek to harm our young people that we're here and we're working 24/7 to protect our children. And we're putting child predators and those who share child sexual abuse materials online on notice. You can't hide behind the anonymity of the internet, because through collaborative law enforcement efforts like this one, we will find you and we will arrest you. I've said this before, and it bears repeating once again today. Parents, guardians, and family members must remain vigilant about their children's online activity. So here are 5 things you can do right away to protect your kids. First, teach your children that the people they encounter on their phones, on their devices, on their computers may not be who they seem. And children should be wary of interacting with strangers online, just as they would in real life. Second, familiarize yourselves with the popular apps and gaming platforms that predators use to target young victims. Third, check the security settings on your kids' phones and on these apps and these games. Check who they're able to speak with. Are they only chatting with friends and family, or are strangers able to contact them? If so, lock down those features. Fourth, constantly remind your children not to share personal information with strangers on the internet, either through email, through chat, or even through a revealing screen name that unwittingly reveals their child's gender or age. Tell your children they should never take inappropriate photos or videos of themselves or share inappropriate materials online. And discuss with them the consequences if they're shared publicly or fall into the wrong hands, the serious consequences. Finally, be wary if your child is secretive or protective about their phone or their computer. Listen, I know it's hard, but ideally, computers and gaming devices should be in a central location where parents can monitor them. And young children should not have their devices in their bedrooms at night. So create a family charging station where all mobile devices are stored before bedtime. Together, through collaborative law enforcement efforts like Operation 24/7, and by parents doing their part to educate our young people about online threats, we'll keep our children safe. Thank you to all of the dedicated law enforcement officers and prosecutors who participated in this operation. You'll hear next from several other leaders on this operation. I'll be followed by Colonel Pat Callahan, the Superintendent of the New Jersey State Police. He'll be followed by Director Lindsay Rotolo of the Division of Criminal Justice, who will be followed by Special Agent in Charge, Jason Molina of U.S. Homeland Security Investigations in New Jersey, and Camden County Prosecutor Jill Mayer will speak on behalf of the 7 county prosecutors who participated in this operation. Let me turn it now to Colonel Callahan. Pat?
Thank you, General, and thank you to all the partners on the virtual press conference today. And I just point out that this Operation 24/7, is really a testament to the success of cyber tips that are received through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Every single one of those tips has the potential to save a young victim from a predator. And understanding traditionally in law enforcement, when you think of that predator, you think of the subject lurking around a playground with a bag of candy and a puppy. It is different in 2021. They are lurking online in chat rooms, to the Attorney General's point, on game platforms. And that's why we needed to change our strategy with regards to operations such as Operation 24/7. And also understanding that when these children are victimized by these heinous crimes, that sometimes comes with a lifelong struggle in dealing with that victimization. And that's why we will never relent in our efforts to root out, to arrest, and to prosecute anyone involved in the depraved network of criminals who seek to victimize our most vulnerable. And I'll just re-echo the general's points with regards to parents and their involvement. You can join us in this fight by monitoring their online activity, your kids' online activity, and really having honest discussions about the dangers of online predators. And the truth of it is these operations yield the results in the arrest of several subjects every time that we do them. We will continue to do them. So I also put the word out to those seeking to victimize our children that when you think you are talking to perhaps a teenager that you're seeking to victimize, that it quite possibly could just be a detective on our Internet Crimes Against Children task force. And that knock on the door comes with several severe consequences. So I'll close by just commending the more than a dozen agencies involved in this operations, federal, state, county, municipal partners, all working together shoulder to shoulder to make sure that we protect our children. And with that, it's my honor to turn it over to the Director of the Division of Criminal Justice, Director Lindsay Rotolo. Director.
Thank you very much, Colonel. I want to offer just a few more details about this operation. Our goal in Operation 24/7 was to arrest persons using the internet to abuse or exploit children. Many of the cases in this operation stem from cyber tips from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Other cases involve proactive investigations, including undercover chat investigations and peer-to-peer file sharing investigations, all conducted by specially trained ICAC investigators. Those investigations targeted potential hands-on predators and those sharing child sexual abuse material. We arrested 31 men ranging in age from 18 to 65 who are variously charged with crimes including attempted human trafficking, attempted sexual assault, criminal sexual contact, sharing obscene material with a minor, attempted theft by extortion, and manufacturing, distribution, and possession of child sexual abuse material. Attorney General Grewal outlined 3 cases involving the alleged sexual exploitation of a child, either by direct contact or by coercion online, those of Santiago, Olson, and Ndungo. He also discussed Reinhardt, who is charged with attempting to sexually assault a 14-year-old girl. Another 27 men are charged with manufacturing, distributing, or possessing child sexual abuse material. One of those men faces a charge of first-degree manufacturing of child sexual abuse material. 19 face second-degree distribution charges, and all are charged with possession of child sexual abuse material, which is a third-degree offense unless it involves over 1,000 files as alleged for 2 of the defendants, in which case it is a second-degree charge. First-degree charges carry a sentence of 10 to 20 years in state prison. Second-degree charges carry a sentence of 5 to 10 years in prison. And third-degree charges carry a sentence of 3 to 5 years in prison. It's important to note that our investigations did not stop when these defendants were arrested. We obtained search warrants for seized digital devices, including the defendants' cell phones. Those devices were taken to various computer forensic labs for full examinations. Those exams will reveal whether the devices contain other evidence, particularly evidence of any other encounters with underage victims or sharing of child sexual abuse materials, which would then lead to additional charges. Through major cooperative efforts like Operation 24/7, we are sending a message to sex offenders. If you prey on our children, we will arrest you. There can be no higher priority than protecting our kids. We ask parents and guardians to please also take steps. They take the steps outlined by our Attorney General to safeguard your children. And if you have specific reasons to suspect online enticement or sexual exploitation of a child, please report it immediately by calling 911 or filing a report with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678 or online at report.cybertip.org. Together, we will protect our children. I thank you, and I now invite SAC Jason Molina to share his remarks.
Thank you, Director. As the Director said, my name is Special Agent in Charge Jason Molina of Homeland Security Investigations, Newark Field Office. And thank you, Attorney General, for your continued partnership as well. I just wanted to say we really do have an amazing, dedicated team of local, state, and federal investigators and prosecutors, and they literally do work 24/7 around the clock to protect our community's most vulnerable, which is our children, of course. So the name Operation 24/7 is very, very appropriate. The Internet Crimes Against Children Task Forces here in New Jersey and around the country collaborate with each other and share information with a common goal of saving children and arresting those who seek to harm them. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, otherwise known as NCMEC, is a vital partner in this fight as well. Unfortunately, as you can see, there's no shortage of work in this area, especially during the pandemic. We see, as you've heard, we see individuals go online, view, share, download sexual abuse material. And every time someone views, shares, or downloads child sexual abuse material, they're re-victimizing that child. We also see individuals chatting online with minors through these apps in an attempt to entice them to provide explicit material. We even see some people go through the great lengths of traveling to another town or another state or even another country to do harm to children. Same message I have as everybody here. If you think you can stay off our radar, behind a screen, or traveling to another country to exploit a child, you're gravely mistaken. HSI has agents strategically located throughout the world to keep kids safe from sexual predators. In fact, last year alone, HSI and our partners arrested more than 3,000 individuals around the globe for crimes against children. And just as important, we identified or rescued over 1,000 victims of child exploitation. But we don't do this alone. We can't do it without the dedicated investigators and prosecutors like we have here in New Jersey. And also the same message, we can't do it without the parents educating their children. We're all in this fight together. So I would truly like to thank all of our partners here today throughout the state also. And I would also like to thank our HSI special agents in Newark and Cherry Hill offices who have pursued these investigations before, during, and they'll continue to pursue these investigations after the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much. And it is my honor now to introduce Prosecutor Mayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Special Agent Molina. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Attorney General Grewal, for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my esteemed colleagues. Cases such as these go to the heart of what a county prosecutor's mission is: to protect and bring justice to the most innocent members of the communities we serve. That's why we as law enforcement, by participating in the ICAC task force, benefit so greatly from it. Through this task force, we share information, we share new techniques predators use that we discover through our investigations. We share resources that all go to help not only investigating, arresting, and prosecuting the child predators who threaten our children's safety, but to arm parents with information that can help them keep their children safe. We are grateful to the Attorney General for highlighting the signs that parents and guardians should look for as potential red flags. And I know that the prosecutors' offices throughout this state go to our schools and present educational sessions outlining those very warning signs parents and teachers should be aware of. But I also want to highlight the importance of the relationship between parents and children. As you've heard here today, it's important to have open, honest, and frank discussions with your children about their online activities. It doesn't have to start with a long, involved conversation. You can open discussions in the car on the way home from practice or a trip from the mall. You just want your kids to know that you are there to listen. But it's even more vital that you maintain the type of relationship with your children in which they feel that they can come to you if they're approached by someone online, or even more difficult to discuss if they have already fallen victim to an online predator. We sometimes encounter cases here in which a child has been blackmailed for months or even years by someone who has convinced them to do something that they are ashamed of. And now the predator threatens to tell the parents if the child doesn't continue to provide explicit pictures or videos of themselves. We often hear that the child complied because they were simply terrified that their parents might find out about the first incident. And so the cycle continues. So I implore you, make your children understand that you are their safe space, that you are there to help, and that there is no situation that you cannot handle together, no matter what has already occurred. So in closing, I want to thank the men and women in all of our offices who work diligently to keep our children safe. These prosecutors and law enforcement officers and other members in our staff see some of the most horrific images in the cases that they work, and it can truly take its toll. Yet they push through it each and every day to protect our children, and there is truly no greater priority in our county prosecutors' offices. So I want to thank you, and thank you again, General, for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the county prosecutors here today and to highlight the great work that we've accomplished and that we will continue to accomplish together.
Thank you, Prosecutor Mayer. I want to echo some of the prosecutor's remarks by thanking the dedicated men and women of law enforcement that participated in this operation. I can't thank everyone, but I do want to recognize a few more people and groups of people. I want to thank the attorneys, detectives, and staff for all 7 county prosecutors' offices that participated under the leadership of Burlington County Prosecutor Scott Cafina, Camden County Prosecutor Jill Mayer, Essex County Prosecutor Ted Stevens, Gloucester County Prosecutor Christine Hoffman, Middlesex County Prosecutor Yolanda Ciccone, Monmouth County Prosecutor Lori Linsky, and Warren County Prosecutor James Pfeiffer. I want to again thank U.S. Homeland Security Investigations, North and South, under the leadership of SAC Jason Molina and Assistant SAC Rich Reinhold. For the New Jersey State Police, I want to thank ICAC Commander Lieutenant Steve Urbanski, all of the detectives who worked on the operation for the State Police ICAC unit, and the State Police teams, Canine, Polygraph, and Crime Scene Investigations units for assisting with arrests and search warrants. From the Division of Criminal Justice, I want to thank CJ Deputy Director Anne Marie Taggart, Jillian Carpenter, Chief of the Financial and Cyber Crimes Bureau, Deputy Bureau Chief Lillian Daniel, and all of the attorneys, detectives, supervisors, detective supervisors, and staff members who worked on the operation for the Financial and Cyber Crimes Bureau. Finally, as Prosecutor Mayer mentioned, I want to point out once again that these types of investigations are among the most challenging and taxing on law enforcement officers. Day in and day out, they are reviewing horrific images of children being sexually abused. We talk a lot about resiliency and the work we've been doing to ensure that our officers are equipped with not only the tools they need to do their jobs against those external threats, but also the tools that they need to protect their mental health and well-being. Everyone assigned to the ICAC and those who prosecute these cases are particularly in need of those tools, and I want to thank each and every one of them for their dedication to bring those who harm our children to justice. Let me turn it back to Whitney Lewis to facilitate the next part of our program.
Thanks, General. I'd just like to note again with respect to the time allotted and the amount of speakers that we have, if everybody can keep their questions on topic. And if you have any questions, please raise your hand at this time and we can unmute your mic to raise them. All right, we have one raised hand here from Matt Scalafos. Matt, I'm going to unmute your mic. Matt, are you there? All right, I believe you might be having some tech issues. We'll come back there. Do we have any other hands raised for questions? We have a question here from Trish Hartman. Trish, I'm going to unmute your mic. Trish, if you can unmute your mic there.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I am unmuted. Apologies. I'm Trish Hartman with 6ABC. I know that Discord and there was mentioned, and a whole bunch of other apps were up on that one graphic. Is part of the issue? We talked to parents earlier today, and a lot of them mentioned Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Is part of the issue that parents are unfamiliar with some of these newer apps or some of the apps that kids are using and adults aren't on themselves?
I'll start and then I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Urbanski to amplify my answer. I think a lot of it is an unfamiliarity, and I'll just share my own experience as a parent of 3 young children. It took me some time, and I consider myself a little bit savvy on these issues, to realize that Roblox, which was a game, had a chat feature, and had a chat feature that, unless I was vigilant about it as a parent, allowed strangers to interact with my children as I thought they were playing a game. So that's why we say, and we share these images, that parents could familiarize themselves with the images of the apps that might be on their children's devices. Go a step further, go online to look at what the security features are, what the defaults are, and then take steps to talk to their children about the dangers and about changing those features to make sure that they're talking to people that they know, that they could validate are in fact their classmates. So I think either Lieutenant Urbanski or Jason Molina or others, if they want to amplify it, please feel free to jump in.
I would, General, I would absolutely agree with that. Same thing with my children. Again, I thought I was pretty savvy too. There's apps that they're using or games that they're playing. All the Xbox, PlayStation, they all have communication apps. It's not siloed anymore like it used to be. There's communication apps within all these games. So I think it's educating ourselves as parents, even in law enforcement. If we don't know this stuff, then how would you expect someone outside of law enforcement? So it's the education factor for sure.
Lieutenant?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to echo that too. I think some things that you can probably do is like to keep a computer in a common area where you can kind of monitor your children on what they're doing, just to keep an eye and, keep up with the browser history, check the child's browser history to find out what they're looking up. And that's kind of stuff that you can look into and see something that you're unfamiliar with and kind of do your own diligence and trying to do some research on it. And you'll find out why they were in there. And, I think you echoed it before too, Attorney General, is education. Education is the #1 key to talking to your children and keeping that open communication. If they don't maybe want to talk to you, maybe a teacher or a trusted adult, that if something doesn't feel right, then they can come to them and tell them about it. And, we do have children that do that have opened up many investigations for us to investigate.
Thank you. Whitney, any other questions before we wrap up?
Yes, we have a question here. Matt's question came in, he typed it in, he was having some audio issues. He was hoping to ask whether there were any specific patterns or setups and how the children are targeted in situations like this.
I'll turn back to the lieutenant or to Jason, anybody else who wants to jump in. I think, we want to be careful about talking about investigative techniques, but I think there are some patterns about how grooming happens, the type of methods that predators employ that we could probably share and that could help educate parents some more. So Lieutenant, Jason, anybody else? I'll go to the lieutenant first.
We try not to talk about the techniques, like you said, Attorney General. That's the stuff that we try to keep in-house so we can catch people that are preying the sexual predators on our children. So I don't want to give up any secrets of how we kind of catch these people, but it's just, basically you have to know your children's devices and what the children are using more or less. And just, like I said, education, like I want to echo what I said before, was education is definitely key for a lot of these investigations to, keep up with it. But as far as techniques, there's just, different things that we have for tools for law enforcement to monitor and catch these predators, that are very useful to us. But I want to kind of keep that in-house.
Understood. Jason, are there, particular tactics that the bad guys use as far as grooming or enticing young people? I know from our own investigation here, when we talked about a couple of the individual defendants, they were targeting young girls and engaging them in what they put out there to be a game and awarding points. And so those are some tactics that we saw in this investigation to bring in somebody. Another thing we've seen in these cases and other cases is when a young person has a screen name with their age in it and gender in it, that allows a bad person, a predator online, to approach that person and say, hey, are you 14 years old? I'm 14 as well. Where do you live? And that is another entry point. And that's why we talk about being more discreet with screen names and not revealing private information in screen names. But again, I throw it out to Jason or any of the other prosecutors that want to chime in, feel free.
Yeah, General, you make a good point. I mean, a lot of their tactics are to state that they're around the same age and build that rapport, build that trust, right? Make them, feel like they've been befriended. And at some point along the line, they'll ease into, hey, send me a picture of yourself. I want to see what you look like. And then they'll ease into, further starting to exploit the children. So, and a lot of these kids, like I said, they think they're talking to another 14-year-old or 15-year-old. Not that that makes it right either. But it's all about building that rapport with that child and trying to exploit them from that point on.
And then it turns sometimes into extortion and blackmail when they have that compromising image. And we've seen that in a lot of these cases. So it escalates from that initial entry point. Whit, any additional questions, or can we?
Yes, we have a hand raised here from Carol Camingo. So Carol, I'm going to unmute your mic. Carol, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Do all of these suspects act on their own, or are some of them part of an organized?
I think she froze. But
I believe
think
what
the
she
question,
was.
I got the
think she
question. I have the question. Were they organized or acting individually? In this case, these are individual defendants being prosecuted in individual cases, and we don't allege any coordination among any of the defendants.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, General. And I think this is all that we have here. So would like to thank everybody for joining us. Just a reminder that all of today's press conference materials are available on our website, and the video from this conference will be available on newjerseyoag.gov. Please subscribe again to New Jersey OAG on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Flickr for the latest updates on news and information. Thank you again for joining us, and have a good day.
Thank you all.